I love the work of Ken Sugimori. Not only as an illustrator, but as an art director as well. He understands Pokémon to an incredible degree and has set up essential design foundations for this world. His guidelines have been used from 1995 to today, and it's because of them that Gamefreak designers can masterfully ensure this world feels colorful and lived in. I recently made a video about Mega Dragonite, where I discussed what is, in Sugimori's own words, the correct way to design Pokémon. And with the last few Mega reviews, it is clear as day to me how this philosophy has played a fundamental role in creating these new designs, and explain why they all look like little weirdos in a perfect way. To Ken Sugimori, the correct way to design Pokémon is to keep the balance. Ken literally says, I might try adding something uncool to a Pokémon that is too cool, or I might add something cheerful to a Pokémon that is too serious. This is what I will address in this video as the Sugimori Theorem. That's when he turned to me and say, what? But look at Mega Hawlucha, this little buffy champion Rey Mysterio guy. He's so cool. And yes he is. And you know what? He would be even cooler in all black. But making it cooler is an adjustment Ken wouldn't dare to do. In today's video, dear stranger online, I am going to look at every one of the 4 Mega designs we have had so far to see this concept in action, of Pokémon designers taking away from designs that are too cool. Dragonite, Victrebell, Hawlucha, my Friend Malamar, Greninha, Delphox, Chesnaught and Raichu. They all are conceived as creatures that are being sent out to a world that's real, to live in a rich ecosystem with their quirks and faults, and need to be more than anything, memorable to the player. According to Ken, in order to achieve this, Gamefreak always adds a little touch to the design. They make on-purpose choices to make Pokémon less cool or more goofy, while always striving to honor the core basis of their original designs, so that they feel like real creatures and not just, in Ken's words, pretty landscape paintings. And I think that the way these megas are being marketed in past few weeks make them the perfect subjects to put this philosophy to test. All that to say, I am obsessed with Gamefreak's marketing for Legends EA. What is being done is so incredibly cool. I think that with the speed of social media and constant crave for content, we are all very impatient with things. I remember back in April or whatever, people were complaining about the lack of marketing we were receiving for this game, and honestly, did we really need a full list of everything that was in this game 6 months ago? I don't think so, because it takes from the wonder, mystery and surprise that is finding things as you explore Lumiose, or of having different Mega Evolution revealed every week, each one in their own unique animation styles, which showcase in detail their lore, flair, and gameplay usage. And I think they have all been hits so far, and according to the most credible media source of all, which is Nora in the Future Twitter polls, fans overwhelmingly love the new Megas, especially Malamar and Hawlucha. ZA marketing is creating social media buzz, spawning memes, getting fans speculating, and that is such a fun way to build hype to a game, as opposed to, I don't know, having a complete Excel sheet with every single Mega Evolution we were going to see like 6 months ago. That kills the momentum so much, and unfortunately, that's kinda what happened. I don't usually talk about leaks on this channel, and I'm not about to start. Don't worry, this video won't spoil anything that hasn't been officially announced yet, but I can't lie to you. Victrebell, Malamar, Hawlucha and Dragonite, all these new Megas along with their detailed descriptions have been leaked some months ago. There are other leaks as well, so if you want to keep getting surprised by ZA's incredible teasers, please don't go look for them. But I'm mentioning this because the fact that we had leaked the descriptions of the Pokémons and not the actual models ended up creating the perfect storm to put the Sugimori Theorem to test. A perfect opportunity to look at the different ways in which fans and Gamefreak themselves approach designing a Pokémon. Because, you know, some artists created fake models based on the descriptions to try and fool strangers online. Other artists just gave their unique takes on what these megas would look like, and again, in this video I don't mean to make any critical judgment of anyone's work or say, ah, you don't know how to design Pokémon. This is more of an exercise. Highlight the difference in our perception as fans and what these professional teams that spend weeks curating designs, selecting models, preparing mood boards, and iterating dozens of versions end up creating. Because something funny that has happened is that when reading the leaks alone, many people felt extremely underwhelmed, saying the designs were lazy and boring, only to have their minds change completely when the actual animations show this Mega Pokemon in action. Almost like that's actually the way we were supposed to learn about them, but... In today's video, Dear Stranger Online, we will look at what fans imagined we would get versus what we actually got. What that says about how Pokemon are designed, about what Mega Evolution is, how that relates to our nostalgic memory of the Kalos games, and why I think that the Megas that we are getting in Legends EA might be even better than the ones from 10 years ago. But before we dive deeper, Dear Stranger Online, I would like to invite you to do the usual YouTube stuff, like and subscribe to help me sail the deep and treacherous waters of the YouTube algorithm. I'm super excited for Legends EA and I will be playing this game on stream as soon as it releases, so make sure to follow me here or on my Twitch to join me adventuring through Lumios at twitch.tv/SicililyStreams. If you like my content, you can also consider becoming a member of this little channel to give me an extra boost in buying as much coffee as I need to write these scripts. Without any further ado, let's put the Sugimori Theorem to test to find out what is the correct way to design Pokemon. According to Junichi Masuda, there aren't many rules about what a Pokemon can be. One thing we always really pay attention to is treating them like living creatures, so you have to try and imagine where it would live in the environment and why it looks the way it does. What would it eat, for example? When designing Pokemon, and not just from a graphic design perspective, there must be a reason for why it looks the way it does, and you have to think about why it might live in the Pokemon world. Masuda's rule of thumb is simple: treat them like living creatures. If an idea doesn't fit the world, they don't discard it in the middle of the process, they keep working on it until it belongs. One example that I think displays clearly the concept of make it weirder to make it real and memorable is Sneasel, because we have images of beta sprites that were being used in its development before Ken Sugimori jumped in. We had a really cute, if otherwise basic Weasel that got progressively darker and edgier until it almost became Shadow the Hedgehog. Then Sugimori came in and injected personality into Sneasel. Not 100% cute, not 100% edgy, but definitely one of Pokemon's most popular and memorable designs after 25 years. And when revisiting this design years later with Weavile, Hisuian Sneasel, and Sneasler, there was always some Predator edginess to it, but never something that went too overboard to make it lose its personality. You always had the core of who Sneasel was supposed to be there, a lone tundra hunter. When revisiting this design in the future, the foundation was always there. A little bit edgy, but the lever never pushed too much in either direction. Keep the balance. This is always really clear when Gamefreak revisits old designs. Dunsparce is also a really good example. An extremely rare 1% encounter in the Johto games, fans have been critical of it being so hard to obtain, and at the end being a bit useless in battle and just very goofy altogether. After literal decades of waiting for an evolution or a power-up, the Dunsparce came in and just continued the joke.
I could Photoshop that.
And the rarity of this Pokemon was still there. Not a 1% encounter anymore, but now there is a 1% chance that your the Dunsparce will have the super rare form that gives it an extra segment. Almost like you have a 1% chance to get the Dunsparce, or the Dunsparce. But that's literally it. Not a change in battle, not an utilitarian difference, just a silly little guy. And honestly, it's perfect. No other approach would have stayed as true to the original experience of hunting for a Dunsparce in Gen 2 than the experience of hunting a 3-segment the Dunsparce in Paldea. And it is honestly absolutely perfect for shiny hunters, where the thrill of the hunt is the entire deal. Mega Evolutions, Regional Forms, Gigantamax Forms, these are all ways Gamefreak has of first and foremost revisiting old designs, old concepts that they would really like to update. Because if we look at them from this lens of designers opening back an old folder in the back of their cupboard, messing around with their ideas from 20 years ago and seeing how they can make it different today, maybe they have a different view of the world, maybe their ideologies have changed, or maybe they now have more technical freedom to add extra colors or more details that you just couldn't achieve in a Game Boy. That's when we start understanding why we get so many Megas and Forms from Generation 1. As a designer, as a creative, those are your oldest works, and the ones that are in most dire need of updating. When X and Y came out, you had just finished conceptualizing Hawlucha. You made it a week ago. There's no reason to give it a Mega because the design concept is fresh and new. This is why you, as a creative, would much rather go back to work on Mega Tyranitar, something you finalized 15 years before. Now you have many new ideas on how to push its team forward, how to move this creature past evolution. Of course, there is the marketing pandering to nostalgia, always, but the attention that gimmick forms give to Gen 1 makes much more sense when we look at Megas as a way for designers to update old works. Just like we didn't get any Unova Megas with X and Y, I don't expect to get any Paldea Megas with ZA. And we can see this very clearly when Masuda explained to us what Mega Evolution is and how they choose which Pokemon gets one. With Pokemon X and Y, we had 3 main teams. The first was Beauty, the second was Bonds, the bonds between people and Pokemon, and the third was Evolution. Evolution is a defining characteristic of the series, and at Gamefreak we were thinking, how could we do something new? How could we have more surprises for players in Pokemon X and Y? We knew we didn't want to do another stage of evolution. We came up with the idea that in order to trigger this Mega Evolution, which would only happen in battle, we would need the Pokemon to hold a Mega Stone. What that does is it prevents the Pokemon from holding another item. If you want to Mega Evolve, you can't have another benefit. It makes the battles a lot deeper. There's a lot of strategy as you try to read your opponent. How do you keep each Pokemon game balanced as both welcoming to new younger players while still appealing to those who play the game in a very competitive way? Masuda literally talks about VGC as a big source of inspiration for Megas, and I think that's super cool. And when talking about who gets to Mega Evolve, he says, we have a real variety of methods in terms of how we pick who gets Mega Evolutions. One of the methods is to look at the battle balance. We obviously monitor how players are playing the game through tournaments like Pokemon World Championships, or even just battles online for the in-game ladder. And looking at the current environment, we'll see who we should give Mega Evolutions to, in order to improve the balance or counter some of the existing favorites. Other considerations include what fans are excited for, like which Pokemon they really want to see Mega Evolutions for, so we look at that and we introduce a few that the fans are really going to enjoy. Other than that, we do it from a story perspective, and then it's up to the designers to see which ones they really want to work on. Gimmick forms are about evolving design ideas. In 1999, Corsola was a cute coral reef in a world that was optimistic about the future and the push for environmentalism in the younger generation. Corsola, however, is a redesign 20 years later with some urgency from an impending climate collapse, urging children to think about how their actions affect the fauna and the heartbreaking death of coral reefs, and how that affects the Pokemon world. At the end of the day, working on Megas, regional forms, Gigantamax are up to battle balance, and which Pokemon key characters in the story have as their aces, but most importantly, which designs a team just really feels like they have a cool idea on how to update them, bring them to a new generation. Because even if the team has something on the radar but can't settle on a good idea, they will drop a Mega, which is the case of poor Flygon. Sugimori gave an interview saying that even though he really likes Flygon and it has importance to the Aura story, they could never settle on a good concept that would stay true to its motif. According to him, Flygon has had the potential to have a Mega Evolution since X and Y, but we were unable to complete the design and so it was dropped from consideration. Okay, dear Stranger Online, I hope we are on the same page here. According to Gamefreak, Megas are essentially about doubling down or re-exploring original design motifs of older Pokemon, a transformation where Mega Energy intensifies or doubles down on a characteristic that Pokemon already had, while always keeping the balance. Never too cool, never too cute, maybe a bit goofy, a little bit weird, and the key word here, memorable. And we have a lot of new Megas now, and a lot more opinions are making the rounds than they did in 2013. In which precise way do the new Megas we are getting help in making the Pokemon world feel more lived in? I'm going to start with Dragonite, and I'm gonna be super brief about it because I have another whole video dissecting its design in more detail. But it is funny that this was the first Mega revealed and the one where the response was the most controversial yet. I personally think that is due to a couple of things, namely the terrible home render that they gave it. Look at the head angle, it's so weird. It honestly looks so much better in the anime, for example. Dragonite was also the only Mega we didn't get a dedicated animated teaser for, but in summary, a lot of people didn't really get that the core of who Dragonite is was not noble, paladin, mighty dragon, but something more akin to friend Barney goes through a magical girl transformation to protect you from evil and save you from a shipwreck. Catch you, catch me. I am, however, going to take this opportunity to talk about my favorite comment from that video from Victor Brian SC, saying that Mega Dragonite reminds them of James Gunn's Superman. They both have this sense of hope and helpfulness. Both would stop mid-fight to help someone else and mitigate collateral damage. Even the hate they get is similar. Gunn's Superman is hated for being too weak and soft, comparing him to Snyder Man of Steel, who encompasses a more masculine and rough Superman, despite Gunn's Superman actually being more true to the character. A being of pure hope, one who would not give up on making sure everyone is safe and well. If Kal-El would be a Pokemon trainer, Dragonite would 100% be his ace. Well, I think Mega Dragonite is punk rocker, and definitely a great example of Gamefreak purposefully making it uncool. But honestly, the best example we have of that is our girly with tummy issues. As I said in the beginning of this video, the description of these Megas leaked months ago, so someone read the description of Mega Victrebell and decided to make a fake leak out of it. And this is honestly gold for us, because it is the perfect displays of what happens when you try designing a Pokemon without the spiritual manifestation of Ken Sugimori in the room, even if you have a precise description of what it looks like. The fake leaked Victrebell has sharp teeth, pointy angles, it looks like an evil and dangerous carnivorous plant, edgy, and honestly, everybody commenting under the leaks thought it was a bit boring. That's it, I guess. It speaks to Victrebell as one of the most forgotten Gen 1 Pokemon as well. If not for being James' partner, it would just be there. But then when we saw the real Mega in action, Camp, Sweet Scent, Pitcher Carnivorous Plant to attract bugs, IBS Acid Reflux, relatable. The goofiest upside down grin you've ever seen, constantly leaking poison from excess Mega energy accumulating in its stomach. And honestly, announcing it in a found footage documentary style horror-esque movie where everyone was expecting a scary ghost Pokemon to come out was such an incredible way to subvert expectations. You control precisely what fans are feeling when they see your design for the first time. If you had no idea what's coming, the goofiness of this smiling buffoon breaks the horror-like tension that brewed for days in the Pokemon channel. It's a perfect way to introduce that design. It's motif exaggeration. Victrebell isn't a badass spiky plant, it's a gluttony flytrap that has so much energy and poison and eats so much that it overflows. It has so many things going on here, from Zelda's bomb bag, medieval water bottle, hyaluronic acid lip plumper. Divisive reactions make sense, of course. This one is super high on the goofy scale, but by Gamefreak standards, that goofiness is what keeps it memorable. But well, yeah, both designs so far have been a bit goofy. There are Pokemon that are cool. And what happens when we get one of those? How does the Sugimori Theorem apply? Well, then we get Yo soy loca por ti, Latinoamerica. So Mega Hawlucha, we all love him. And this animation, come on. He's so fun and like undeniably cool. This is probably the most popular Mega so far and has been almost universally loved since its inception, even though it is arguably very similar to Hawlucha's base form. It just wears a new mask, and honestly, that is really Lucha Libre in a way. Powering up by getting basically what is a new costume. It becomes more confident, bulkier, it doesn't skip leg day at the gym, and it's basically a very noble hero, the good guy, the showman. I mean, come on, how can you not root for him? But that didn't stop fans from saying that it could have been cooler, with images like this, which I don't need to explain to you why it doesn't work. Going back to Sugimori's quote, making it cooler is an adjustment I wouldn't dare to do. But one redesign that really caught my attention was this user saying that a black and golden color scheme would make it stand out more, and it definitely would. This is undeniably cool. But as per Sugimori, my job is to get something that would look cooler if it didn't have this or that, and put it in on purpose. Most importantly than just looking uncool, changing Hawlucha's colors would remove one of the most fundamental aspects of its core design, the Mexican flag. Hawlucha is, first and foremost, a homage to Mexican culture and to Latin American traditions, in a political moment where displaying a proudly Latin heritage is kind of scary in some parts of the world. Getting rid of the Mexico flag colors in Hawlucha would dress it down of maybe its most important design feature. And since Megas are always about doubling down on original motifs, Mega Hawlucha could never have had any different color scheme than this. Mega Hawlucha is not a dark bird of prey or a superhero, it's a performer and an entertainer first. The sense of culture and pride is so strong that again, Nora went super viral with recolors showing how he would look if Hawlucha displayed pride for other nations or identities, but sorry Brazilians, this one's for Mexico. And well, speaking of colors, my friend Malamar is such a masterclass on organic and viral marketing. I have always loved the Inkay line and I have used Malamar competitively since 2013 at this point. So I kinda jumped in very strongly on the Malamar Hypnosis bandwagon, using basically all of my free time last week on photoshops making silly, altered memories of Malamar being the protagonist in every single Pokemon game, ever. I had so much fun, but honestly, I did not expect the Mega to go in the direction that it did. Based on the leaks, this is what artists expected it to look, and I was a bit confused because I couldn't really identify where the most important motif, the topsy-turviness of the Inkay line was. Until we saw Mega Malamar in action in a fantastic 4-minute long live-action report of the madness we had experimented in social media the days before. And this was my reaction. Oh my god! That's so weird, I love it! I think that the build-up with days of Malamar posting online alongside the really cool home render that Dragonite didn't have the luxury to have really helped in making Mega Malamar become some people's favorite Mega maybe ever. From my misconception, Malamar is just Inkay upside down, so for the Mega, it would just make sense to turn it upside down again, right? But the difference is that with Mega Malamar, it plays topsy-turvy with our own expectations. It doesn't just flip upside down, it turns its insides out and flips the entire concept on its head, and that is so clever. It is impossible to describe Mega Malamar without seeing it moving with its eeriness and weirdness. The M-shaped exposed brain resembles a literal nervous system, while at the same time serving other concepts such as Hypno Trickster, Genius Supervillain, and even Elvis with the pompadour and the collar. And as my chat reminded me, it kind of looks like an ink pen, like Inkay. The rainbow is the Mega energy, but also a sign of its hypnotic power. Colors and gradients are psychologically known to play a role in influencing human personalities. According to the Pokédex, it can freely overwrite the personality and memories of others, including the trainer. If you do a topsy-turvy and look at it upside down, it's a magician's hat, and also the Prism Tower. Oh my god, this design is amazing. It is balancing so many concepts at once, and it does them all while staying true to the original Malamar design foundations. And at the risk of looking exceedingly cool, it can only attack with hypnotic powers by tickling its own brain in a really goofy way. 10 out of 10 in the Sugimori Theorem. And on a small tangent, back to what I said at the start about old designs being limited by hardware, for Gamefreak, revisiting these designs means literally to have creative freedom to add things that would literally be impossible to have before. The rainbow gradient flow on Mega Malamar would literally be impossible to achieve on a Game Boy with just 2 colors. This is how Gamefreak chooses which Pokemon get Megas as well, which one of them would be benefited from stronger hardware giving them more creative freedom. So, editing Cecily here. It seems I had the brilliant idea of recording this video before the September 12th Nintendo Direct, where they revealed 5 new Megas, so you might have noticed a few edits here and there. But I believe this would be incomplete without mentioning them, and also, I've only had Mega Raichu Y for 10 minutes and I would literally protect it with my life. So let's talk about the Pika in the room, because I felt like there was quite a bit of negativity online towards Mega Raichu, and there are certainly many valid reasons for it. I think Raichu is a victim of the same problem as Dragonite. We haven't seen them in-game and only have this awkward 3D render to go from. Also, it doesn't help that they only come with a paid DLC announced before the game is even released, which was expected, but still a bit of poor taste. But I think that these designs are not only a masterful homage to the Pichu line and even the Pikachu-Raichu dynamic, but also prove precisely what we were just saying, about Megas being an opportunity for artists to revisit old ideas. There is a 90% chance that these designs were made by Atsuko Nishida. Not only she created the entire Pikachu and Eevee lines, including Alolan Raichu, but she also created Goruchu, a final evolution for Raichu, which was scrapped because of game balancing reasons and because, you know, the Game Boy file is very small. Nishida describes Goruchu as a warrior-like creature with fangs and horns, almost like a god of thunder. Mega Raichu has been called by some people an industry plant, and a way that Gamefreak found to give Pikachu a Mega while ignoring the Raichu-ness of its design, but I don't think I agree. Of course, this is the mascot and face of a billion-dollar franchise, so they could never go very crazy with it and experiment with ideas that are too wild, but be sure that there was a lot of thought and hours and countless meetings spent in refining this design. Just like Mewtwo and Charizard, two extremely popular and marketable Pokemon, it makes complete sense to give Raichu two versions as well. And I think this Mega is not only a chance given to Nishida to revisit and update some old Gorochu ideas that never seen the light of day, but it's also a really playful and fun messing with the concepts that are found in the entire Pichu line. The X form feels more like a physical attacker, a mix of Gorochu and Raichu with the Pikachu colors and Pikachu tail. Meanwhile, the Y form feels like a special attacker, being a mix of Gorochu and Pikachu with the Raichu colors and Raichu tail. This reminds me so much of the Pikachu-Raichu duality we see in the anime, where Raichu is physically stronger and Pikachu can only beat it using the nimbleness of its unevolved form. X or Raichu is strong, while Y or Pikachu is swift, and those are the foundations that Nishida is doubling down on. This is supported verbatim by their Pokédex entries, which reinforce this Pikachu-Raichu duality of these designs, while saying that X strikes with blows from its electrically charged fists, and Y strikes swiftly and excels in short battles. I also love the little fangs that make them cooler, the weird oversized ears and tails that make them campy, but also signal their power to deliver incredibly strong jolts of electricity. The little tuft of hair reminds me of Richie Sparky. I think they're a perfect homage to what makes the Pichu line as iconic as it is. One version paying stronger homage to Raichu, and the other becoming the mega mascot that will do wonders for Gamefreak. But in any case, both designed by someone who is now 30 years more experienced at designing Pokemon than they were when Gorochu was made. In the end, designing Megas is about having fun with their concepts and motifs, and honestly, at least for me, I think the design team at Gamefreak is hitting it out of the park with the ZA Megas. I have the feeling that I will like this collection of designs even more than the original Kalos ones, because now the Gen 6 designs are the ones that are outdated, and are concepts that these designers for sure want to update and rework concepts and even give more competitive viability in a game that pays homage to the Kalos region. And well, I guess I was right, because here they are, the Mega Starters. It's funny because these Pokemon have a lot of history and their Megas seems to build up on that. Chesnaught and Delphox are known for being disliked by fans for different reasons. One for losing its chestpin cuteness, and the other for losing a bit of femininity and almost furry-like shape. With the Megas, they embrace their RPG class triad inspiration. The noble and protective Knight, the mystical fire Mage, and the stealthy Thief. Chesnaught is an armadillo made entirely of shields, and its signature move, Spiky Shield, sums up really well the design motifs that it banners forward. With the Mega, we have a seasoned warrior, a king with a crown, a rugged cape that reminded me of the King of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild. But there is also a strong Viking motif here. The shields that have been forged in battle and used for defense can also be used as an axe, and I believe there is some Thor Mjolnir inspiration here as well. A brave and protective knight becoming a seasoned and worn king. Mega Delphox spellbinds me. I have briefly mentioned Delphox hate in my Chikorita video, but the main criticism from fans to its design was due to it losing a bit of the youngish femininity of Braixen. It's a bipedal fire starter, and that doesn't help it. An anthropomorphized woman, but with a shape more resembling a bulky forest dweller than something like Gardevoir. I feel the hate towards Delphox has strong foundations on a very gendered look at it, and I find so cool that Gamefreak basically decided to double down on the gender play of it all, by giving Mega Delphox a full-on beard, long and flown as a statement to its domains over the mystic arts, almost as a callback to wizards like Gandalf. There is masculinity and femininity coexisting in this design, but not normative ones. It is the femininity of rejected women accused of witchcraft, and this one you cannot burn at the stake. Mega Delphox isn't a girl boss kind of femininity, but a mystical and medieval one of strength and independence. The fur changing colors from purple to red functions at the same time as flames, as a robe, and as a pointy hat. She is a very traditional witch living deep in a forest brewing potions. She's both Kiki and Sabrina Spellman, but he is also a wise and old wizard. using his calmness and skill to set foes ablaze. And then Mega Greninja, a whole other beast. This is one of the most popular Pokemon of all time, an undeniably cool and edgy loner Pokemon. This is seen mostly in the anime, where it got its own special form that is a Mega but isn't a Mega kinda. It's strange, and Pokemon knows that because Ash Greninja has slowly been retconned out of existence in the games and in the anime. While Ash Greninja just made it even cooler, adding the protagonist features, Mega Greninja takes a Pokemon that is really cool and turns that concept upside down. It aura farms so much that it becomes self-aware to do it in a very campy and awkward way, hanging upside down at all times because Greninja knows that he is cool like that. This is a perfect example of taking a design that is very cool and turning the awkward IO a little bit more up. What can be more awkward than a gracious stealthy ninja floating upside down on a giant shuriken helicopter? It takes the entire concept of what made Greninja popular in the first place and makes it really absurd, and honestly, I love it. Even the Pokédex says, now that it has Mega evolved, it no longer bothers to hide itself, demonstrating to opponents its confidence that it will win. Mega Greninja is so cool that it becomes camp, and it is fully aware of it. We can expect to see many more Kalos Pokemon getting some love, as well as the starters, which include Chikorita. So please, please, please make Mega Meganium real and make her the biggest threat in VGC of all time. And something else that I would like to show you is this clip from 2013, when Mega Kangaskhan was revealed in Pokemon Worlds, to a super mild reaction. If it was revealed today, people on Twitter would probably say that Gamefreak lost its creativity and have become super lazy. It is a really simple design, yes, but to me it is one of the most iconic Megas that made this half-forgotten Pokemon a competitive beast. The design foundation of Kangaskhan is of a mom that protects her offspring, but it is only through the strong bond with its trainer that the kid can become confident and overflow itself with Mega energy. The mom will see her kid become more independent, fighting side by side with her. According to Pokédex entries, Mega Kangaskhan's strength derives from the mother's happiness about her child's growth, and it is through trust and the bond with the trainer that this once forgotten Gen 1 design got maternal love enough to become strong enough to win Pokémon Worlds 2015. Because as Masuda said, Pokemon X and Y in the Kalos region have three main themes: Beauty, the motto of Team Flare, Evolution as in Mega, but also Bonds. Although the Sun and Moon decks explore themes of the suffering Sun Pokemon, classically Glalie, few when Mega evolving, it is only through the bond with the trainer that they can dominate this overwhelming power and let it loose, gaining independence, confidence, strength, tummy issues, and why not, world domination desires. I expect this to be the core theme of Legends EA, with the Rogue Mega Evolution. What happens when this state is forced upon a Pokemon? What happens when this bond with the trainer that overcomes the energy overflow isn't there? It goes rogue. And how only through connecting to the environment and creating balance in the city can we help Pokemon reach their full potential. Because that's what some fan designs and most fake leaks often miss about the correct way to design Pokemon. They answer, how do we make it cooler? Or how do I make this in a way that I will like it? Instead of how do I make it real? Or what makes it Pokemon? And I'm super guilty of that too. If you ask me to design my ideal Mega Meganium here, I'm probably gonna miss the mark by a lot. Because as someone who works with design, it is also by bonding with other creatives, trying stuff out, iterating, getting feedback, and experimenting that people can achieve final designs that are as complexly simple as my friend Mega Malamar. It is a bit lonely to work all by myself in this channel, dear Stranger Online. It's fun to have creative freedom, but I would love to have someone to drift off ideas as well. Which is why I really appreciate the feedback you give me, and I am addicted to reading comments. I would love to hear what you think about the designs and what your expectations for these games are. And please avoid discussing leaks to make sure that the rest of the community can enjoy these reviews with as much excitement as they deserve. At the end, this is made for us to enjoy. It's art being sent out to the world and to fans. I love having the opportunity to dive deep into these Gamefreak interviews with you, and I'm already excited to see which Megas will be revealed next. Don't forget to follow me on social media and here on YouTube so we can experience this all together. You can find all of my channels in the description of this video. I'm really looking forward to exploring Lumiose with you all soon. I really hope to see you there. My friend Malamar! My friend Malamar! My friend Malamar! 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 I really need an Inkay plushie.